Great stuff. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me for another one of our wee Chen style Tai Chi classes. However, today we're going to, I'm sorry, I'm still fiddling with getting the screen nice for you. Yeah. Today we're going to do a wee bit of work on the lymphatic system. Now, in the past we may have looked at the lymph system from the point of view of improving our immune system, which is what the lymph system partly is. It's part of your immune system. But it's also very, very useful for helping when we suddenly puff up. So if you have what's called oedema. Oedema basically means fluid that is pooling in an area and causing swelling. So this can happen for any number of reasons. If you've been pregnant in your life, you may have noticed that your legs and ankles will swell a lot. It's just general gunky. How do you say, it's the waste disposal system. So the lymphatic system carries away fluid and helps it to be processed and got rid of in your system. And it's also the waste disposal system. So it's basically liquid fat. There's lots of fat cells in the lymphatic system. But basically, as your blood circulates, the oxygenated blood takes nutrients and oxygen to every cell in your body. It gives the cells the oxygen, and then the cells in return release a payload of used up stuff, so the waste products of life, and then the lymphatic system, its job is to take that waste, the fluid that's excreted along with the gunk, the used up stuff, the dead cells, any cancer cells, anything that shouldn't be in the system or we don't want in the system. The lymphatic system then takes up that extra fluid with all that yuck and drains it back into our digestive system, basically, that the various aspects then filter out, clean up, break down, make safe, and get rid of all those things. So our lymphatic system is 70% made up, slightly more than 70% made up of our digestive system. So if your digestive system is working well, that really helps. But also we breathe out toxins. So the things that build up in our system, we're getting rid of it in numerous ways. We're breathing it out, we're sweating it out as well, we're urinating it out, and we're pooing it out. So all of our excretory things are helping to get rid of the waste products of our life. Basically, all our life cells are producing this waste to get rid of. So the fluid that's in the blood, once it has been processed, it goes out of the blood vessels and it's just milling around interstitially. It's between the tissues. And then the tubes of the lymphatic system help to draw it up and get rid of it. But if those tubes become a little bit blocked, or if the fluid becomes a little bit thick maybe, then it's much harder for the lymphatic system to do its job. So if it's too hot, that can become an issue. And you'll notice sometimes your ankles may swell. Let's do a wee bit of warm up while I'm talking, please. Gently roll into the four corners. So your ankles may swell. Any part of your body actually could swell. Your wrists, your arms, any part. So with the heat, things get a bit gunky. We get dehydrated, things get a little bit swollen, and it makes it harder for the lymphatic system to pick up and get rid of that gunk. But also if we have an injury, or say we've had an operation, which to our body is an injury, you know, something has gone in and done stuff to us, then we send a lot of blood and a lot of energy to that place to help it heal. So that also means a lot of fluid and a lot of waste products. If you think of builders and how much waste and mess they can produce, our bodies are the same. So the builders are in rebuilding and fixing and helping your body heal, but in the process they're creating a lot of waste, and that waste can become built up and gunk up the area surrounding, and therefore more and more fluid builds up, and it's not necessarily able to be carried away easily. So what I'm going to show you today is methods to help clear and open the lymphatic system, which will help any excess fluid drain. So the edema goes away and therefore you feel relief and the toxins are taken away, so the system is no longer irritated into what could otherwise cause inflammation, otherwise known as arthritis. So we're doing our little movement. Even this, actually, you could consider it a lymph exercise because it is gently pumping. The lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump. Unlike the circulatory system for the blood, it has the heart. But the veins in our body have valves, and the lymph system is similar more to the veins. So it's tubes with valves. So actually physical locomotion, physically moving, is pumping your lymph around your body. So I know sometimes if you have edema, you're not going to feel like doing lots of big fancy movements, but actually moving your body is going to help it. And the main pump, if you like, for the lymphatic system is actually your muscles, especially your calf muscles. So let's change direction, please. So in a second, we're going to do a little bit of work just with the calf muscles. But when do you use your calves? Well, when you're walking, for one. When you're rising and lowering off your heels. So anytime when you're lifting and lowering off your heels, you're helping to pump, especially pump the fluid back up through the legs. But actually all movement within the body is going to help all the lymph flow. So if your legs are so sore that you can't move them hardly at all, then I would recommend elevate them. I don't mean just put your feet on a footstool. I mean lie down on your bed and stick your feet up the wall if you can. At least 45 degrees or even higher. You could get to 90 degrees, have your feet above your head. And then you can do breathing exercises where you're moving your arms in and out like bellows, and that too will really help the lymph flow. I must say, since reaching a certain age in my life, reaching a certain part, so post-menopause, my lymphatic system is sluggish. So I find myself, sorry, that was dogging. I find myself at night, when I lie in bed, I stick my feet straight up in the air, I stick my arms straight up in the air and I shake. I will show you this just out of interest. I wonder what the dog will do, if anything. So I lie down in bed and I bring my hands and feet up in the air and I shake. So I'm getting gravity and the pumping action of movement, and I might just alter it and do a little bit faster. And I just let my arms and legs hang there for as long as I comfortably can. And you'll feel a difference. You'll feel a kind of emptiness happening in the arms and legs. And I just lie there for a few minutes like that. And then I relax and I come back down and I go to sleep. Hello, doggy. Hello. Yes. Yeah, good girl. Okay. So, sorry, let her out again. So that's something that you could play with if it's comfortable to do so. So everyone can benefit from a bit of lymphatic work. If you take your socks off at night and you see a ring around your ankle where the skin is nipped in a bit, you know, you get that little circle mark where your sock was, that's showing that your lymph is blocked. And everybody gets that, but some more than others. If you have a very deep groove where your sock was sitting, that shows you really need a lot of lymph work. So let's do some. Okay, so we're talking about the calf muscles, these muscles at the back of the leg. So if we lift turn the palms to face up, bend the elbows, bring them slightly forward. We're going to breathe in, lift, off the heels, turn the palms, breathe out. Turn palms, breathe in, turn palms, breathe out. So we are pumping the lymph by using the calf muscles. Now this is a very controlled method, so we're building strength, but if you're finding that difficult or painful, we can actually just bring the hands down and bounce. Now you don't have to do the impact version where the heels are hitting the ground, you can do a little bounce where the heels, like they're on a gel cushion, and you just bounce. And if you start the bounce going and let it run out of steam, you'll get about 7 bounces. And each one of those little bounces is amazing work for your lymph. Do it one more time. Your muscles might get tired quite quickly, so you can just do it a few times and then rest and have a little shake out. But bouncing, if you had the space and were prepared to put a little bit of money in, you could get one of those little trampolines they call rebounders. Bouncing is one of the best ways to get the lymph flowing. So you can do it manually like this, like we just did, bounce, bounce, bounce. Or you can get a rebounder which kind of helps do it for you, but also makes you work. The reason it's so useful is you're using those muscles to help physically pump the lymph up through the legs, but the downward impact each time, that little weighted gravitational bounce, forces the vessels to close their, what do we call them, the valves. So they have a series of valves to stop the lymph going back down again. So that gravitational bounce as we go down forces the lymph valves to close. And so you're getting a free ride on the way up, and you're getting a closing to stop it going back down on the way down. So you're pumping, 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 sending fluid back up, back up, back up. You'll notice I often do this exercise at the end of class, and again I combine it with gravity using the arms up. So I can't lift my legs in the air while I'm on them, but I can lift the arms, and then as I bounce, I'm letting the wrists flollop about, which is also helping to stimulate the meridians, the energetic lines that flow through the body. Good. So that's a really nice wee lymph exercise on its own. But let's go a little bit deeper and see if we can unclog any of the major lymph nodes of the body. So we have the main drain, which is in the chest. We have the drains that come down from the head. We have the auxiliary nodes, which are at the tops of the arms. And we have the inguinal nodes, which are at the tops of the legs. And of course, we have the digestive tract, all this area, which is helping to process it. We then have minor lymph nodes behind the knees, and we have even smaller lymph nodes, little ones, in the crux of the elbows. So we're going to look at all of these briefly today. There are several videos online that can help you with this. There's a Qigong version called the 8 Nests, or Opening the 8 Nests. There's a Western version, which I think they've taken it straight from Qigong, which is called the Big 6. And well, there's various exercises. So let's rub our hands vigorously together. So the most important place to declog is your chest. So ladies who wear very corseted underwear may notice that they get a ridge, and it's actually quite uncomfortable here because their underwear isn't allowing the lymph to drain properly. So be careful, and I would encourage everyone, please, to wear loose and comfortable underwear. Don't wear anything that pinches or squeezes, like knicker elastic. Really awful for lymph. Even that one thin fine line is going to stop the fluid from getting through. Think of taking like a piece of dental floss and pressing it into a sausage. You can see how even though it's very fine, it's causing quite an impact, that there's a bulge either side. And that's what happens if we wear tight underwear or any tight clothing. It will restrict your lymph from actually getting through, and it can be quite painful. So be careful. Loose, comfortable underwear, loose, comfortable clothing. Take your fists to your chest, to your breastbone, and turn your center and move it around. Good. So the reason I'm asking you to turn from center is it's more effortless than holding your body still like this and moving your hands. You'll get tired arms doing that. So turn your center, but you just want to gently stretch the flesh across the structures beneath. Good. And then you can do a little drum roll up and down. You can do this seated if you want, by the way. Good. Okay. Now we're going to go to the drains that are coming in from either side. Funnily enough, one side drains almost your entire body, bar one half of your brain. The other side is devoted to just draining the lymph from one side of your brain. It shows how important the brain is to our system, because if the brain fails, everything fails. So it's a fail-safe. One side of the body, one side is sorting out everything, the other side is devoted to just keeping your brain fresh. So let's, again, you can stick to the collarbone, please, and shuggle around. So regardless where your edema is, wherever the swelling or discomfort is, doing this will help, because this is the drain for the whole body. Good. So you've moved it around, you've moved the flesh around, and then cup your hand, not with a flat hand, but with a cupped hand, and give that whole area a good thumping. Lovingly. Good. And do it again, rub. Cup your hand, or place your hand, and you can move your center. Now you can see if you brace your elbow with the other hand, it just makes the whole structure much easier and you're getting bang for your buck. But all of this is just to move the flesh, do you see, over the structures. But if I do it this way, I get really tired very fast, whereas I can move my center and it's effortless. I'm just gently stretching the flesh over the structures. Good. Cup your hands and give everything a good thumping all the way around that area. Good. Now let's deal with the head next. So we're going to rub, and we're just going to very gently come behind the ears and brush downwards towards the throat, towards the main drain. So this really, you're draining along the sternocleidomastoid, the SCM muscle. That muscle that goes from behind your ear and connects and creates that little cup in front of your throat. So gently stroke. I'm always very gentle with the neck. I don't believe in thumping it. I've seen some people who whack away, but I wouldn't personally. You don't want to hit something delicate. But you can stick one hand to the neck and give it a wee stretch again across the structures. So think of draining from the head in and down, and then out. So you're doing little circles downwards. Circles are always good. And then what I would do is just pitter-patter with your fingers like this. Pitter-patter. So you are gently stimulating, but not thumping. Good. And let's do that on the other side. So we stick and we do in and down and out, in and down and out, in and down and out. Just get that whole area mobilized and free. Very good for sinuses, by the way, helping to clear all that stuff. And then pitter-patter with your fingers. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Very good. Now, there's a whole lot of stuff you could do on your head. Let's do a little bit. You're at home, so you can pause the video if you're revising. If you're not sure your hands are clean, go wash your hands first. We don't want to introduce germs onto the face. So we rub our hands again, and we're going to start at the chin, and we go up to the forehead and down and round the outside. And we do that 3 to 9 times. Good. You don't have to push very hard. Superficial lymph is stimulated with very gentle touch. Now we go over the head, round behind the ears, and again down the throat, just guiding it down. So if the superficial lymph is stimulated, the deep lymph will also be stimulated. It works like a spirit level. So if it's stimulated on one level, it'll meet it on the other. So superficial and deep work together. So let's do little pitter-patters down the face. You can do your washing without water, but we're not going to focus on that today. That's all of those pressure points on the head and face. You can pitter-patter, pitter-patter, pitter-patter. I'll do one other one though, which is the wig. I'll come forward for this. So take hold of your head as if you're wearing a wig and readjust your wig. So you don't have to be very violent with this, you just take hold of your scalp, and in the same way as we did on the collarbone, you're just kind of moving the soft tissue over the structures underneath, adjusting your wig. And think of sort of pressing your wig down onto your head. Good. Okay. So next we're going to look at the auxiliary nodes. So the lymph nodes are actually little sort of clusters where it's like a battalion of soldiers. It's where they live. So it's your white blood cells sit in these little bags at the tops of your arms, the tops of your legs, behind your knees, inside your arm, inside your elbows, and they help to fight infection and anything that shouldn't be there. So as this liquid waste is going through these sentinels, any problems are getting sorted out for the most part before actually they even go into the main drain. So it's very, very useful. If we clear out these nodes, then the limb will be much happier and the lymph will drain from it. So let's do one arm. We lift up and we go in with the fist or fingertips, and we just want to stretch. Again, you're moving the flesh across the structures. So I'm not really focusing on moving the armpit itself. I'm actually going into the chest around the armpit and just stretching it away from the armpit. So at the top I can stretch across towards the opposite shoulder, and then in the middle I can stretch down towards the opposite breast, and then further down I can stretch down towards the opposite hip. But as long as you're stretching the structures, actually it doesn't matter so much how you do it. You can even do a wee bit of stretching on the arm as well. Get all of that area nice and loose and free. It can feel a little bit like there's, what's that stuff called? Velcro. You know, you'll feel it kind of sticky at first and then it gets a wee bit looser. That's what we want. That's the fascia releasing. Now with cupped hands, pat all the way around. Ladies need to be a little careful because it's uncomfortable to hit breast tissue. So see if you can get the structures around but not really thumping the breasts themselves. Don't worry if you do, but just aim for the rest of it. Good. Relax down. Now you may notice as you do this, it's quite exhausting. And there's a reason for that, because we are encouraging the system to release the toxins that it's been holding and flush them. So that fatigue is not just your efforts at doing this movement, it's the fact that a whole bunch of toxins are being dumped into your lymphatic main drain. But that's good, because that's what's going to clear it. So you may notice that yes, you feel kind of like, oh, but actually after a few minutes, you'll feel better. And having a glass of water handy will help as well, because literally it is flushing, it is liquid waste. So getting liquids into you, even if you have swelling, you might think no more liquids. Actually, you need those liquids to flush. That also, with a little bit of salt, is important, because if we don't have enough salt in our system, then our tissues swell. This is why sometimes people are given salt tablets to help reduce swelling and edema. So again, we're getting in there and we're stretching the tissue around the armpit, across the outside of the breast area. Good. Give it a good stretch. Give it a good mobilize. Good. Cup your hand and give it a good thump. That whole area. Lovely, and relax down. Excellent. So we have done the main drain, we have done the collarbones, we have done the neck, we have looked at the head and the face briefly, and we've done the auxiliary nodes. So now we're going to go a little bit further down into the main factory for getting rid of lymph. So we go down to the digestive tract, all this area. We want to make fists, get in there and move things around. So no matter where the swelling is in your body, if you are clearing your digestive system, you're helping the energy flow, you're helping the structures function, it's going to help clear that inflammation, clear that fluid buildup. So get in there and move everything around. If you find a tender spot, good, work on it, but gently, don't force anything. Good. So it doesn't matter actually how you get in and around, just keep moving everything around. Often you'll notice we talk about going in circles, following the large intestine. And yes, that's great, but actually if you do it randomly, it still works. I've tried, it still works. Just get in there, pick random spots and mobilize. Every part you can reach, don't forget the solar plexus area, move things around. Good, and then again, you can use fists or you can use cupped hands. Play the drums. Get every part. Now, if you remember nothing else, remember the main drain here and here. And that's where everything goes into. So if you keep these areas clear, you stand a chance of everything else clearing. But doing the whole lot will be very beneficial. Excellent. So now we move on to the inguinal nodes. So they're the nodes, major nodes, the biggest nodes in our body actually, and they're at the tops of our legs because our legs are bigger and stronger and they need it. So again, we can get in. Let's go one side at a time. We'll get the fists in there, into the crease of the leg. Sit down a little bit so the crease is obvious and start gently stretching. Again, I do it by turning my center because it's easy. I'm not using my arm muscles. Stretch. So if you have a swollen knee, the inguinal nodes on that side, is very important to get them clear. Make sure you spend a bit of time, do a bit of love on stretching the flesh over the structures. And it can feel like ripping. To be honest, I sometimes think when people work on that area, I'm like, oh, you're ripping my skin, but they're not. The ripping sensation is the fascia releasing. The skin is actually a lot stronger than you might think. It's designed to protect us. Good. Okay, so how does that feel? Hard work, right? Let's go to the other side. Find the crease, sit down a little bit, get into the crease and move it around. Remember, moving, especially moving the whole body, is pumping the lymph. In itself, you're helping to clear any stagnation. Good. And you may notice that one side needs more clearing than the other, and that's normal as well. Good. Okay. So now we're going to hit that area. Now again, you could use cupped hands, you can try it. I was always taught to use the blade of my hand for this one. You can play both ways. Gentlemen, obviously, please be careful. You're hitting a rather vulnerable area, so just avoid hitting anything that you shouldn't. So we go to the crease and off you go. Chop. And you can chop up and down that crease. You can do 3 times minimum, but you could do 60 of these if you wanted to. I would say at the very most comfortably I'd probably do 30, but I don't think I've ever done much more than 9. This is probably more than I've ever done. Good. Okay, because even 3 will work. So stand and listen and you feel that kind of tingling sensation. So that's what we want. Good. So there's your inguinal nodes. So next we're looking at the knee. Now you could come and sit down for this one if you're a bit wobbly on it, or if you're not comfortable standing, you could do this. Now the nodes at the back of the knee are called the popliteal nodes. But say if you had swelling in the knee, what we could do is extra little moves to open up the space around the knee. And literally, if you can imagine that here I'm holding a knee, okay? You have the area above the knee and the area below the knee. So here and here. So what we can do is hold the structure and then above the knee and sort of place our fingers in, sort of hook the fingers in and then pull out and release, and pull out and release. Do you see what I'm doing there? So pull out and release and pull out. So it's like you're opening up the valves. So I'm going to show you that on myself. So I'm going above the knee and I'm holding the knee gently. I press my fingers in and I just pull out a little bit and let go. And then the other hand press in and pull out and let go. And then I can do the same below. I can press in and pull out and press in and pull out and let go. So that's a really nice way to help if there is just a lot of build up in there. Maybe if there was like a baker's cyst, I think they call it, or just pressure in behind the knee, that can help. So we can try that. It won't do any harm even if you don't have those issues. So as I say, you take hold of the leg above the knee. Can you see that? I think maybe it's the easiest from the back. And with your fingers gently press in and switch out and release. And then the other hand, sit in, switch out and release. And then we do the same thing below the knee. Gently hold the leg, press in, switch out and release, press in, switch out and release. Very good. So that's just helping to open up the structures a little bit more. Now in the Emmett technique, we do a whole unzip of the entire leg, but it's just too difficult to guide you to do. I think maybe we'll do something akin to it. It's not the full thing, but just for a feeling, we're going to go right up to the top of the leg. We'll do one leg at a time, I think. So right up to the top of the leg, and you'll feel the hamstring at the back. We want to go on the inside edge of the hamstring, so quite far in. And what you're going to do is the same as we did for the knee. We press in, let me see. No, sorry, it's opposite. So we press in and we straighten the fingers. So that's opening. So you're not pulling inwards, you're straightening the fingers, you're switching towards the center line. And then we can do the same on the other side. So we go find the hamstring. On the inside level of the hamstring at the top of the leg, we go in and switch inwards towards the center line. Now both hands gently draw your fingertips down the very back of the legs all the way to the heel and then sweep the hands forwards and away. Let's try that again. So we've done the switches, so we press the fingers gently in and draw a line down the back of the legs and then forwards sweep away. One more time. So we sit into the hamstring and gently draw a line down the legs and sweep away. Very good. Okay. So that's helping to unzip the legs. It's not the Emmett technique, it's just sort of a nod to the Emmett technique, but that's helping to unzip. So that helps to open those gates to allow the fluid to exit. So all things being equal, if we were to do the 8 nests or the big 6, you would be rubbing the back of your knee. I'm not sure if you have actually really big oedema going on back there, if that would be comfortable. So I'm going to show you it, but if you've just had knee surgery, maybe leave this one out. Okay, so you can just hold the back of your knee even. But you would sit in like a ski jump position and rub. And then pat. So you could rub very gently if you've had surgery, as long as the flesh is healed, and then very gently, just a gentle tap, or just like the neck, you could do a little, like a tickle of the fingers like we did on the neck. Yeah, you could tickle back there, and in fact you could tickle all the way around. That would be a very nice wee exercise to do. So if you have edema, if you're sat, you could do, just to keep the system just ticking away, you could do little finger tickles, always starting at the top and guiding things upwards. So you want to direct the lymph in the direction of the main drain up here. So you could keep going up. You don't have to stop at the hips, you could keep going up. You don't have to just do tickles, you could do little this way. You see what I'm doing? It's like a massage. You see, sometimes people do it under people's chin, but you're just directing the lymph upwards very, very gently. So you can go down the leg in question. I would do both legs, and just very gently you're stroking upwards. Do you see? Again, you start at the top and you work your way downwards, but every stroke you want to go upwards. Every stroke you want to go upwards. You never stroke downwards, because that would be sending the lymph down, or it would be straining those little valves. So we're going upwards, 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 upwards. It's amazing what gentle little moves can do. If you were a chronic lymph sufferer, I would make this your habitual habit. You just do it all the time. Gently stroking, 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 stroking towards the main drain. Any part of you, in fact, all parts of you, very useful. As I say, every night, as long as I'm not too tired, I lie in bed and I have this ritual. I had an injury that I kind of created with a few incidents, and my arm was injured, like painfully injured, for over a year. I couldn't lift plates out of the cupboard, you know. I couldn't lift the saucepan. It was really uncomfortable, and I couldn't work out why it wasn't healing. And then I went to a colleague of mine. She goes, "Your lymph is completely clogged." And my arms were fat, and I thought it was just fat. I thought, oh, I've gained weight. She said, "No, it's lymph." And she did a few moves, and you could actually see the arms just went shh. And they didn't go back to sticks, but they became a lot thinner in seconds. So it was lymph, it was swelling, it was edema. So you can do this stuff, it can really help. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Oh, well, then there's the elbows as well. So we can use fists, we can just use a cupped hand, get into the elbow and do a little bit of work. So as I say, work the whole body. Don't just isolate one little area. If one little area is swollen, pat with a cupped hand, work the whole body, because think of it like a whirlpool. If one area is clogged, it affects everything. And if you clear everything, it will help that little area also to clear. So let's go to the other wrist, other elbow, and we rub. As I say, you're moving the flesh. It's not like I'm rubbing like that. I'm moving the flesh and then cup. Very good. And earlier when we were doing this, I was exhausted. I felt, oh, this heaviness. Now I feel fine. Now there's a reason for that. Again, it's because we're shifting the gunk. Once the gunk has started to flow and go into the main drain, the system recovers. So it's often the way that you feel knackered, pardon my French, you'll feel exhausted when you do lymph work. But as long as you take fluid afterwards, and as long as you do some movement afterwards, you will feel a lot better. You'll feel fresh again. So I hope you have a drink handy. Let's now do the 100 ailments go away exercise again, because remember, we want to pump the lymph. We've opened up all of those lymph nodes. Now we want to flush. So we lift up our hands, let the wrists go nice and floppy, and we bounce, and we breathe, and we relax. Now there's an expression, 7 heel taps every day, 100 ailments go away. So 7 would be the minimum. But you can do hundreds of these things. Good, relax down. I would do it until you feel comfortably fatigued and then stop. So there you have it. So on top of this, as I say, we want to make sure that we are getting enough fluid. We want to make sure that we have our isotonic balance right. So make sure that there's a little bit of salt going on into your system, not table salt. You hear me? Not table salt, that fine granular stuff, because they put anti-caking agents into it, which is one of the major issues that causes all the heart problems. So it's not salt that is the major problem, it's the anti-caking stuff. So go for sea salt, Himalayan salt. Celtic salt is really good because it has magnesium and lots of trace elements in it. So a little pinch of salt, literally 2 or 3 grains for every glass of water, and you will be helping your salt level balance, which in itself could just help that edema go away. So if you get too much fluid without your isotonic balance, without your salts and your minerals and your stuff that you need, then your tissues will swell. Okay, finally, remember to elevate. Anything that's swollen, elevate it up. I don't just mean put your feet on a footstool, I mean up. And you don't have to do high kicks, just lie on the floor, lie in bed, and stick your feet up the wall and breathe. And you can do literally breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in with your arms and breathe out. You can do that, or you can just lie and relax and breathe. Also, while your feet are elevated, you can wiggle your fingers and circle your ankles and wrists. Again, movement will aid. So if you're using gravity and you use movement, your body will find it very hard to stay swollen. It'll just drain. So lots of lovely things to help with your lymph. I hope you enjoyed that. I've made this into a recording so you can look back at this. I'll send some links through WhatsApp and maybe even put on the information within the YouTube video. So lots to be playing with. If something has swollen unexpectedly, yeah, it's always a good idea to check with your doctor, especially if you have just had surgery, because you never know. Just it's as well to have it checked out. But lymph work is incredibly safe and incredibly useful regardless of what's going on. This will help your system to run freely and get rid of waste. Okay, so let us do a little bit of Chen style. Shall we do some Silk Reaeling, folks, to finish off? Because we've spent a lot of time on that. Silk Reaeling, very relaxing, very gentle, and again, we can use it to pump our lymph. So let's do some side stepping, please. If we come over to the side, we lengthen up. Let's just have a look at the leg work first. Take a deep breath and release belly, hips, knees. So we can use our hands for a bit of stability. We're going to step with the heel, place the foot down, glide across, toe and foot down, glide across. Heel, step, glide across, toe, step, glide across. Breathe. So actually all Tai Chi is lymph work. It's all going to help pump your lymph. But you can combine it with what we've just done. Let's change direction. Heel and toe. Heel and toe. Heel and toe. Heel and toe. Well done, and recover. So let's do single arm Silk Reaeling and stepping, just to finish off. So let's lengthen up through the top of the head. Start with the feet together, deep breath, and release, relax down. Right hand to waist, left hand forwards and up, release belly, hips, knees, look to the side and step open. And we turn, feed the weight across. Turn, feed the weight across. Palm faces up. Palm faces down. Palm faces out. Palm faces forwards. Face up. Face down. Face out. Face forwards. Good, now we're going to add some steps. Feet across and come in. Feet across and step. Into your left, come in, stay left as you come down, transferring the weight and step. Stay right. Feet across, come in, change arms, and step. Stay left, feet across, and come in. Stay right, feet across, and step. Stay left, come in, stay right, feet across, and step. Let's change arms. Change arms. And step. So we stop stepping, but we keep going with the arms. Shift the weight and turn. Not too far. And shift the weight and turn. Shift the weight and turn. Very good. And in our next move, bring the foot in and relax down. Brilliant. Take a little heel tap. Well done. So I would suggest to you folks that when you're feeling a little delicate, Silk Reaeling is a very good option. It's soothing and calming in itself, but it builds strength. It has this kind of soporific rhythm to it, which brings us into deeper relaxation. So if your mind is stressed, Silk Reaeling is great. Also, if your body is stressed, it's very good. You may, though, want to just do a little bit at a time. Do a few minutes and see how you feel. If you really feel it's coming nicely, then you can do a bit more. So it's a learning curve that we have to adapt to our system's needs on the day. It's not a cookie cutter system where you just do the same thing regardless of how you feel. No, we need to companion our systems and work in harmony with them to get the best outcomes. If you feel that you're steamrollering your needs in order to be good for your health, then you're actually being counterproductive. So I hope that that was enjoyable for you today. Folks, actually, I quite enjoyed it as well. We'll do a little bit more Silk Reaeling in the coming weeks as Grandmaster is coming over in April. And Silk Reaeling is always good to tune up the system. So let's take right hand in a fist, please. Left hand straight and pull back the thumb with feet together, hands together, and we salute. Thank you so much. Keep your fluids up and get your feet up, and look forward to seeing you next time.